can be seated. Thank you, everybody, for coming. There's many people that are joining us online as well. Wanted to just mention that Rabbi Brief was a very close friend of my father who couldn't be here today, and myself. I wish we were back on the racquetball court one more time with him. And I think Rabbi Brief would want to mention that he and I one year played 100 games and we split 50-50, and he was 26 years old. He's 26 years older than me. He also referred to my father, myself, and himself as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And every year we would always call each other on our birthdays, and it's a sad, sad honor today to be here. Rabbi Brief, like myself, might not have been the most organized man, and we weren't able to locate his discharge papers to get the Army come here, but fortunately, the Jewish War Veterans, Jeffrey Sachs, has volunteered, as well as my former associate, Doran Puckett, who served in Vietnam. And so they're going to be providing the honors that Rabbi Brief dearly deserves. And then we'll proceed with the funeral. If you're able to, if you can rise while taps is played. And if you're a veteran, please salute. If not, please put your hand over your heart.
Can you hear us? Adonai, ma adam v'teda'ehu, ben enosh v'techashvehu. Adam lehevel dama, damav ketzel over, baboker yatzitz v'chalaf, la'erev imalel v'yevesh. Tashev enosh adaka v'tomer shuvu b'nei adam. These are the words of the psalmist saying, Adonai, eternal God, what are we that you would have regard for us? What are we that you would even be mindful of us? We're all of us just a breath. Our days are a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning it shoots up and is renewed, and in the evening of all of our lives, it fades and withers. But God, you cause all of us to return unto dust, saying, Shuvu, b'nei Adam, return, O mortal ones. Would that we were wise. Would that we understood whither we go from here. For when we die, we carry nothing with us, not our riches, not our glory. But God, you say, Shmor tam urei yashar. Mark the wholehearted. Behold the upright. Those are the ones who shall find shalom, who shall find peace. Friends, when we think of one who is wholehearted and upright and kind and loving and decent, we think of Rabbi Neil Brief, whom we remember and sadly say goodbye to today. Rabbi, mentor, teacher, and friend. Ashrei ha'ish asher lo halach be'atzat risha'im u'b'derech hata'im lo amad u'moshav leitzim lo yashav ki b'torat Adonai chefetzo v'torto yehegeh yomam v'layla. This is the first psalm. Happy are those who have not followed the counsel of the wicked, or taken the path of sinners, or joined the company of the insolent. Rather, Torat Adonai, the teaching of the eternal God, is their desire and their delight, and they study that teaching day and night. They are like a tree planted beside streams of water. It yields its fruit in season, its foliage never fades, its fruit always flourishes. A perfect psalm for Rabbi Brief. Psalm 121 is a beautiful psalm. I'll read it in English, and then Cantor Daniel Gale, my colleague, will sing it. I lift up my eyes unto the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from the eternal God, the maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector does not slumber. Behold, the Shomer Israel, the protector of Israel, neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian and your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. And may God guard you from all harm. Guard your soul, your going out and your coming forth, now and forever. Psalm 121.
Ezri mehim Adonai ose shamayim va'aretz al yitein lamut raglecha al yanum shomrecha hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilecha al yad yeminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yegal veyareach balayla. Adonai yishmorecha mikol ra. ישמור, ישמור את נפשך. אדוני ישמור את צדקך ובואך, מעתה ועד עולם. אשא עיני אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי. עזרי מעם אדוני, עושה שמיים וארץ.
The 23rd Psalm is in our handouts on the inside panel. We read together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Enter Gail.
מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי לא אחסר. בנאות דשא ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינהלני. נפשי ישובב, ינחני במגלי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות, לא אירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך על משענתך, המה, 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 ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי. דישן ושמן ראשי, כי עושי רוויה, רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
L'kol zman ve'et l'chol chefetz tachat hashamayim. For everything there is a season, a purpose for every time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant, a time to uproot that which is planted. A time to tear down, a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve, a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, a time when we must refrain from our embraces, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep, a time to discard, a time to tear, a time to sow, and a time for silence, and a time to speak. And so this is an appropriate time to speak words in memory of our friend, Rabbi Neil Brief. And so I will speak, but don't worry, I'll make this brief. Neil Brief came into the world, and by world I mean Brooklyn, on October 10th, 1934. His parents, Bella and Hyman, gave him the Hebrew name Noach, as in Noah, he of the great flood. An appropriate name because a hurricane had hit New York City just days before he was born. Also appropriate because it was raining on the day he was born. Also Noah, an appropriate Hebrew name, was appropriate because the Torah portion that week was Parshat Noah, the story of Noah. 13 years later, he read the same watery portion for his bar mitzvah. 7 years after that, another watery moment for young Neil Noach. He was on a boat to Israel, and at least according to family lore, the choppy Mediterranean Sea knocked him off his feet and into the cabin of a young woman from Tennessee. That's how Neil met Erica. He fell into her cabin and into her heart. Decades later, that wonderful woman, Erica Brief, sadly, unexpectedly passed away, also at sea. And 9 years after that, just this past Saturday morning, our dear friend Rabbi Brief passed away on the morning of Shabbat B'Shalach, which tells the story of another sea, the Sea of Reeds, which God split to liberate the children of Israel. The world is full of turbulent waters and stormy days. But the name Noach means comfort and ease and rest. And Harav Noach, Rabbi Neil Brief, through his life and through his words and through his numbers and through his outstretched hand, he offered us rest from that turbulence. He truly sought to ease difficult situations. He did so through his kindness. And as we all know, genuine kindness is in short supply, and we will certainly miss his. Neil Brief's own early life had some turbulence in it. His mother, Bella, was basically a single mother to her two sons, Neil and older brother, Sai, to whom we offer our condolences. They lived in Brownsville, the Brownsville section of Brooklyn. Brownsville was a Jewish neighborhood and a poor neighborhood. Neil received structure and encouragement from the well-regarded Brownsville Boys Club. He excelled in school, which is not surprising. His Jefferson High School classmates wisely and presciently voted him most likely to succeed. For a time, he imagined a future in politics. He became a rabbi, so he kind of got that. He also considered sports broadcasting, and he certainly had the strong voice for it. Not surprisingly, also, he was adept at memorizing sports statistics, just as later on he would memorize shul statistics. He knew your birthday. He remembered your anniversary. The Brownsville Boys Club, which I mentioned, was surely a positive influence on him, but it could not stop this future rabbi from sneaking into Ebbets Field to watch his beloved Dodgers play. When Neil was 16, he would take the subway into Manhattan and uptown to the Jewish Theological Seminary, where he would attend lectures by the esteemed Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. The personable future Rabbi Brief found Rabbi Heschel to be much too austere, really. And austere was not his style. After that trip to Israel, Neil would call Erica from a payphone, long distance, Brooklyn to Tennessee. I like imagining those calls, these two young people in love, the mingling of Brooklyn and Tennessee accents. Love triumphs over regional accents. And they married in 1957. He was in rabbinical school at the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion, the Reform Rabbinical School. Rabbi Brief was always appreciative of and devoted to Erica's family, to sisters-in-law Selma and Joanne, or Honey, and to Selma's husband, Charlie. He was also always an admiring younger brother to Cy, and beloved brother-in-law to Elaine, and his nieces and nephews, several of whom are here today and online, loved him, of course. Following ordination, Rabbi Brief was chaplain, Army chaplain at Fort Huachuca in Arizona. He was proud of his service to our country. Dina and David were born in Arizona. Debbie was then born in Ventura, California. The family at that point was complete. Rabbi Brief was serving a congregation for 9 years in Ventura. All of these early rabbinic experiences were important rabbinic experiences for him, of course. But the game changer, the big moment arrived when he came right here to the then Niles Township Jewish Congregation, to this building, to this bima, to this pulpit. And for 33 years, he really served this congregation. He was here. He was here by day. He was here at night. And Erica too, all in as Rebbitzin, for sure. And for Dina, David, and Deborah too, as he would say, the 3 Ds, this place was second home. Their actual home was in some ways an extension of the shul. These, of course, were pre-cell phone days, so people would call on the home phone, often at dinner time. And Dina, David, and Deborah, they were adept at fielding those calls from congregants and from others. And also folks would just show up at the house, ringing the doorbell to drop off something, food or whatever, mishloach manot for Purim, happy Purim. That home was, as we know, many of us have been there, 4214 Suffield Court. 4214. 42 plus 14 equals 56. And the good word for 56, with A being 1 and Z being 26, is friend. That's my own, by the way. And Rabbi Brief was friend. And it was a friendly home, and it was a loving home. Rabbi Brief would tell his children, he would say, the best gift I can give you is to love your mother. Is that not beautiful? And love her he did. At the Shabbat table, Friday nights, he would read the Eshet Chayil, the woman of valor, to her every Friday night. And they were very much a team. Erica was her husband's advisor and helpmate in various ways. For instance, when Rabbi Brief, standing right here, happened to be not so brief, on occasion, during services, Erica would make certain motions sitting out there indicating it was time to wrap things up. Sometimes she'd be more direct, calling out, "Genug, Neil, enough." On weekday mornings, the two of them would head to the JCC. They would walk the track together. He would play racquetball. As we heard, he was a serious competitor at racquetball. And then he'd enjoy a schwitz and a schmooze. And really, who schmoozed better than Rabbi Neil Brief? It was about making friends, creating friendships, relationships, talking, being around people. This is what motivated him. This is really the mark of his rabbinate. But he was really effective in other ways too that might be under-recognized. He led the village of Skokie to prevent the Nazis from marching here. He oversaw the merger of Niles Township Jewish Congregation with Ezra-Habonim in 1997. He participated in dozens of missions and trips to Israel, which he loved. He hosted politicians here, including future President Jimmy Carter. And of course, he also fostered connections within the clergy community in the area through the Niles Township Clergy Forum, through the Rabbinic Chicago Board of Rabbis, and more. And we are now honored to have quite a number of clergy members from the community of all backgrounds, faith traditions, present right now to honor their colleague. Thank you for being here. In the midst of this very busy career, Rabbi Brief and Erica raised the 3 Ds, who grew up and moved out at the appropriate time and created their own families. Dina married Jerry, David Hazel, Deborah Bruce. Their marriages, their strong marriages, testify to their parents' loving marriage. Rabbi Brief and Erica also became grandparents to Joel and Naomi, Nava, Micha, Yasmina, Libby, Abiel, and Yona, Sarah and Francis. And then the grandchildren-in-law, or should I say grandchildren-in-love, entered the family. Deborah, Scott, Yoshua, Noah, Odelia, Noam, and Rivka. And Rabbi Brief was a very proud great Zaidi to Ela, Eitan, Geffen, Maya, Xander, Netta, and Liam. And he was absolutely delighted to have Ela, Geffen, and Netta in the neighborhood. And when they visited, he would tell me about those visits and how beautiful those children were and how they charmed him and how bright they were. Shortly after I came to town, Julie and Betsy and Ruthie and Sammy and I, this is maybe 2007, 2008, probably 2008, we found ourselves by chance walking next to Rabbi Brief and Erica at an Israel Solidarity March. Rabbi Brief learned the kids' names as we were walking. He learned their ages, and he launched into his gematria. I was strolling next to Erica while he was doing that, and this is my first experience witnessing this, and I said to her, "Your husband's really good at this." And Erica responded with the most charming understatement in Jewish history. "Oh," she said, "it's just a hobby." We often comment on his creativity with numbers, and it was fun and meaningful. But I personally appreciated his words even more. For through words, through creative wordsmithing, Rabbi Brief made the world feel smaller, more intimate, more pleasant. He didn't, for instance, have in-laws, as I mentioned. He had in-loves. Family members didn't move away, they extended. And our congregation had no former members, only distinguished alumni. And of course, his words always also conveyed such praise for others, such appreciation for others, such gratitude. He would compliment on people for anything, sincerely, sincere compliments for the significant things and for the minor. This was a man with a fundamentally positive attitude and the biggest heart. Neil Brief, Rabbi Neil Brief, the Brooklyn boy, and I'm so glad that the family has given me his Brooklyn hat, which I will treasure and wear. He was, to borrow one of his own go-to words, he was a uniqueness. He was no austere leader. He led with warmth. He was no pretentious rabbi. He was himself. He was not pompous at the pulpit. He was humble, and he was wise. I would not infrequently ask him for his advice, counsel about something, and he'd sometimes give me real advice. He'd like to say sometimes, let go and let God, which I appreciated. Or if I was talking about someone, a congregant, or that I might be having some complications with, he would always say, call him or call her, which I appreciated too. And sometimes I'd ask him for his opinion or his advice, and he would just shrug, and he would say, Jeffrey, what can I tell you? The more I live, the less I know. And that is wisdom as well. Friends, for me to stand at this sturdy pulpit, the pulpit that he for decades graced, is a great, great honor. Julie and I will miss him. We will all miss him. May his family be comforted, and Zichrono Tzadik Livracha, may his righteous memory ever be for blessing. Amen. So pleased that members of the family will be speaking now. First, honored to call forward Dina Wold.
Rabbi Weil, thanks for your kind remarks and for being a mensch and good friend to our dad all these years. Thanks, Lloyd, for helping us through this difficult time, and Cantor Gale for beautiful rendition, and to all of you for being with us here today. I'm Dina, the eldest of the 3Ds. I'm here today with my husband, Jerry. We live in Newton, Massachusetts. Our children, Joel and Deborah, are here from Norwood, Massachusetts. Naomi is here from Jericho, Vermont, representing Scott and our grandson, Xander. Almost 40 years ago today, unbelievable, Dad and Mom walked me down the aisle of the synagogue with a crowd like today. Dad kissed me goodbye and then went up to the bima, and Sally, my dear sister-in-law, helped put on his robe, and then he officiated at the wedding. I spent a lot of my childhood here, and there are many memories in this building and with all of you. Today is a day that we never thought would actually occur. Dad was a large presence in all of our lives, and he seemed as if he'd be here with us forever. In his vast library of books, I found a book by David Wolpe called The Healer of Shattered Hearts. Dad's underlining and his writing in the margins seemed to speak to me and help me write this message. He highlighted the most powerful experiences cannot be put into words. Wolpe said, human fears are two, the uncertainties of life and the certainty of death. Dad highlighted, we fear forgetting and being forgotten. But Dad, during your life, you never forgot a single thing. And Dad, I want to assure you that you will never be forgotten. Although we are sad and feel a profound sense of loss, there's so much to be thankful for. Dad kept his mind and he stayed sharp to the very end. He made it to age 89, a big accomplishment. From humble beginnings in Brooklyn, he created a beautiful life with a legacy that includes 3 children and their 3 spouses, 10 grandchildren and their 7 spouses. He's fortunate to have been alive these past 9 years since our mother died to experience the birth of his 7 great-grandchildren. He would be doing the math right now and figuring out the numerology to count for all the family members. He also has an extended family with his brothers Cy and Elaine, who are here virtually, and many nieces, nephews, first, second, and third cousins, and many adopted family members. He remembered all their birthdays, anniversaries, and even their yahrzeits. Who will remind us of all these dates now? Dad gave us all strong roots and wings to soar. He nurtured a wide support network of extended family, friends, neighbors, colleagues, and congregants. We are overwhelmed with the outpouring of love and support. There's a Facebook group called I Grew Up in Skokie, Illinois area in the 60s and 70s. And so many people have commented on this site about their memories and wonderful experiences with Rabbi Brief. It's easy to be upset and down about the world and so many things that could have been better or different. But Dad, you made this world a better place. And for this moment, we will celebrate you and your legacy. We are grateful for your life that was well lived, with purpose, with meaning and connection. We sincerely hope that our dear parents will be reunited for eternity. Toda Rabbah.
Thank you so much, Dina. Beautiful. Now we direct our attention to the screen. David Brief from Israel. David.
Yeah, hi. Yes, it's nice to see the synagogue in full color as I remember it. Thank you, Rabbi Weil, for your kind words, and Dina as well. And I look forward to Debbie's word. This is a moment I have dreaded reaching for a long time. As Dina said, we thought it was never really going to happen. Dad, I've learned so much from you over the years, more than I realized. I don't know how to capture it all here in a few short minutes. First of all, Dad, please forgive me. For not being physically there today. But I know you understand. As you know, as you told me many times, we can't be everywhere. And as much as you were able to dance at 2 weddings on one day and go to 2 funerals on the next, there are limits. Our relationship was beyond time and space. I always feel your presence with me. And I think you always felt mine close by, or at least just a phone call away. You know, you could always call, and that if you didn't catch me, you could leave a message. And I have on my computer many messages from you that I can always listen to. I remember all the pride you took over our children and your grandchildren and your great grandchildren. And I could always rely on you to remember their special days, just as you remembered was important to people, as you taught me to remember their names. And and for you, their special occasions as well. Your personal database was flawless. You often quoted the verse from Tehillim, Limnot Yamenu Ken Hodav and Avi Levav Chochmah. Teach us to count our days, and we will acquire a heart of wisdom. Through counting the days, we will acquire intelligence, and with that, a heart of wisdom. You appreciated every minute of your days and filled them with mission and purpose, not wasting a minute. and finding many extra minutes during the days to make a quick call and brighten somebody else's day, sharing your wisdom. I could also count on you to know the number of the day of the year and then turn this mundane number into a good word of the day. And it's with its gematrical equivalent in Hebrew and in your English gematria. Also, you counted the days to events, to future trips, anniversaries, birthdays, visitors. I needed an Excel to calculate the birthday and anniversary gifts according to your formula of the year. I know that part of your heart was in Israel and that you took great pride in our decision to raise our family in Israel. You made it with mom to all 6 of our kids' B'nai Mitzvot in Israel, several weddings and births, in addition to many holiday celebrations. Our kids have fond memories of you. One time stones up where you could not be here in person. Yona was born a week before Pesach, and you needed to get back to the congregation for Pesach, even though I knew how much you wanted to stay with us for his Brit Milah. As at the Brit Milah, afterwards, I was giving the explanation of the name that we chose to our friends and family. And in the middle of that, you called. And I saw on my phone that it was you. And I debated for a second or two whether to answer, since I was right in the middle of my moment of glory speaking about your name. But I decided, to my wife's chagrin, I answered the phone to tell you the name. And instead of just telling you the name, I said that we now have an official family member with a middle name starting with the letter B. You were denied of having a middle name. And when we were in Niles Township, all the presidents there, I remember Adolph A. Brown and Alvin R. Kaplan, they all had middle initials. And we wanted you to not be denied a middle initial. So for your 42nd birthday, Dina and Debbie and I presented you with a middle initial B to make your name Neil B. Brief. When I told you the baby's name, this is actually funny. So when I told you the name was Yona Betzalel Brief, you quickly pointed out that it's not B Brief, rather it's Y B Brief. I didn't know quite what to say. I did not think of that, but my response was to relay it to our friends. And to this day, they still remind me of that. So there are times when we were far apart, but very connected, just like now. Each year at Parshat Noach, I wondered about the famous pasuk that says, "Ele toldot Noach, Noach ish tzadik tamim haya bedorotav." That Noach, just like he was a tzaddik and tamim, a pure and righteous man. The question is, why was it qualified with bedorotav, in his generation? In Masechet Sanhedrin, in Kufchet Amud Aleph, the debate is brought out whether this is to his credit or not. Rav Yochanan says that relative to the people of his generation, he was righteous and wholehearted. But if he lived in a different generation, perhaps he wouldn't have been considered righteous. On the other hand, Reish Lakish says that in his generation, even though he was surrounded by bad influence, he was still righteous and pure. And if he lived in a generation with positive influences and righteous and pure people, he would have been even more righteous and wholehearted. It made me think about the generation you grew up in and what drove you. Growing up in Brooklyn, as Rabbi Weil explained, at the time of the Shoah and the rebirth of Israel, without the affluence of today and seeing rampant anti-Semitism and assimilation was certainly a challenging time. Your decision to dedicate your life to Klal Yisrael in general, and specifically the revival of Judaism in America in this difficult time, was not a foregone conclusion. I remember you said, people used to say, what kind of job is it to be a rabbi for a Jewish boy? Balancing your love of Israel and Jews all over the world with your advancement for interfaith understanding was beyond the call of duty. I checked online and see that in Skokie, the community interfaith Thanksgiving service that you started many years ago is still going on. In addition, your ability to see good in all streams of Judaism is the kind of ahavat china we all need to get through the current period and move into the future. It's not by accident that you are one of the few, the only one that have a Doctor of Divinity degree, an honorary doctorate degree from 3 different rabbinical schools, HUC, JTS, and RRC. I'm not sure that can be matched today. I'm very glad that in spite of the distance, my children all grew to appreciate you very much. Similarly, know that you took pride in all of your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Having Micha and Noah living there these past 2.5 years with Ella, Geffen, and Netta has been an extra sense of joy for you. And I'm glad that they could share that with you. And then also visits from our other kids, from Nava, Yasmina, Libby, Aviel, and Yona over the last few years has also kept you on your toes. Most recently, I was very glad I could celebrate your 89th birthday in person on October 10th, together with Debbie. With you is what I'm in. I was looking forward to spending more quality time with you on what turned out to be my last visit with you. But our visit was cut short due to the unfortunate circumstances of October 7th. The last gematria I got from you was the gematria of your newest great-grandson, who was born on Kaf Het Koach Tevet just 3 weeks ago today. Before we got his name at the Brit, we had his Tudat Zehut number, his Israeli ID number. I asked you what it meant. You added up the numbers, of course, with no calculator, and got 51. 51 is na, please. And Dad always used pleasant language, as we learned in Parshat Noach. In any country he went to, and he visited many, he always learned how to say the words please, thank you, and excuse me. 51, he also told me, is 3 times 17. 17 is Tov. Tuesday is special for Hamayim Kitov. For twice it says Tov in Parshat Breshit. So I said, okay, fine. So I was wondering where the third 17 was, but I didn't press on at that point. Dad passed away with a song on Shabbat Shira on the 17th of Shvat. One request I ask you, Dad, together with Mom, to be a special heavenly intermediary for our soldier who is still fighting from where I am right now in the ICU at Tel Shomer Sheba Hospital. Yona Betzalel Ben Chava Shoshana, R.Y.B. Brief.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much.
Yeah, just here, just say, as long as you see, we're all here.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're here in the
Hello,
in the
everyone.
ICU so that Yona can listen along with you to everything.
Okay. We are glad. Thank you, David, and everyone. Wishing you the very, very best, and refuah. Now the third D, Deborah Hoffman.
Dear Dad, according to a famous midrash, every person has three names: name given by parents, the name given by friends and peers, and the one he creates for himself. In Ecclesiastes or Kohelet, it says, "A good name is better than precious oil, and the day of death is better than one's birth." Why is this? When a person is born, no one knows what they will become, but when they leave this world with a good name, they inspire others to do good deeds by their example. Dad, you are leaving this world with a good name. You have inspired many good deeds, connections, and relationships. You have taken a name, Brief, and made it into a legacy. Our family, or as you affectionately call family, father and mother, I love you, was the core of your life. Family, F-A-M-I-L-Y. Dad, you inspired us to live meaningful lives, both personally and professionally. Our daily conversations always started my day on an upbeat and positive note. Even during the last 9 years since Mom's death, you strived in your own way. One day at a time was your saying. Sometimes we didn't think this saying was accurate and kind of bothered us for a while. But today, many of us, it has become our own personal aphorism. One day at a time, doing the best I can. Dad, you are the original GPS, the family navigator, the one literally taking attendance every day. You frequently would start each conversation, "Debbie, I'm checking in on you, and how is David, and how is Dina, and have you talked to Sarah?" Thank you for your constant support and concern for my family from Orlando, Florida, for Bruce, Sarah, and Francis. Thank you for remembering and asking about our daily lives. You taught us all the importance of keeping in contact and managed to do it in your way, the old-fashioned way, by the phone. As we are now reading the book of Shemot, Exodus, we learned about the bush witnessed by Moses, burning but not consumed. This metaphor most accurately defines your life. You taught us how to see the fire and persevere, whether it was the Nazi march in Skokie, professional disappointments, physical limitations, or most recently, the tragedies of October 7th, you taught us to persevere. You frequently used the phrase, "Let it be good." Dad, until your final day, you enjoyed life to the fullest. Your mind was sharp and clear. Last Friday, as we had our last conversation, we had just landed back in the US from Israel. You even asked me about the details of the flight. And as you quoted Zadie Herman Greenbaum's comment about how he survived the Nazi period frequently, you said you were doing the same thing, that you kept your mind. And he absolutely did, till the last day I spoke to him on Friday. Dad, you also had a hearty appetite, and your favorite food was chocolate ice cream. Eating for you was one of the ways you showed your zest for life. Dad, your multiple connections, which even reached to my friends in Orlando, have created a legacy. Your continued contact with members of this congregation is unique and admirable, and our family thanks this congregation for their love and support for these many years. I can't believe how many visitors my father even had on Friday. It's just amazing. Lastly, Dad, your absence already has left a deep hole in my life. I miss you and struggle each morning waiting for our conversations. We would do Havdalah each Saturday night with my father by phone. And this past Saturday night was my first Havdalah without Dad. And I know it is time to say goodbye, but I guess life is similar to Havdalah. We know it's time to say goodbye to Shabbat, but we wish it could just last a little longer. Thank you for being my father and my mentor. I love you. Love, Debbie.
Thank you, Deborah. Please to call forward 5 grandchildren who are present: Joel, Naomi, Micha, Sarah, and Francis. Okay. Okay, Joel and Naomi first.
I'm Naomi, the first of the grandchildren to speak. It's Amazing to see everyone here today and to hear everyone's words. It's just one indicator revealing the impact that our Zadie had in this life. Our Zadie was a force. It was weird and hard traveling here without him first wishing me to go well, go safely, without him calling the moment I arrived just to make sure I did. A lot of people will hopefully remember him as being a great connector of people, the life of the party, a man who cared deeply about his community. He was proud to be Jewish. I have vivid memories of my embarrassment when him and my bubby would loudly sing the motzi, his version, in a McDonald's or other public restaurant. He was also our family historian. He remembered every birthday, every anniversary, every name. He called us all, weekly, if not more, to wish us Shabbat Shalom, to hear about our lives, to share details of the lives of others in our family, and also people we did not know. He loved our bubby so much when she was alive. It was unimaginable to think of him without her. He loved his kids, his grandkids, his great-grandkids, and he never missed an opportunity to tell us that, or to tell us that he was proud. I have so many wonderful memories of him. He told me the good word while walking me to the school bus, observed free cone day with me at Ben & Jerry's, and then got right back in line to observe it again. Joined me under the chuppah for my wedding. We already miss him like crazy, so we will take his advice on where to go from here. We'll do the best we can, one day at a time.
Hi, I'm Joel. I'm the oldest of the grandchildren. Zadie could light up a room and make everyone feel special and welcome. With all his friends and connections, he was truly like social media before social media existed. He always had a positive spin on everything, and it was usually in the form of numerology. Did you know that the good word for 60 was buffet? Zadie did. He knew more random facts like that than anyone. I felt like he remembered more about things from the 1950s than I could remember from the previous day. Zadie was always extremely encouraging with whatever new challenges I was facing. He was also always my first birthday call. Somehow this year, he knew to call me on January 26th, a full day early. I'm so glad I got to talk to him one last time before he passed. Like Naomi said, he and my bubby were a match made in heaven, a true power couple that supported each other through thick and thin and stood at the center of their Niles Township Temple community for so many years. I can only hope that they are reunited now. I'll miss our phone calls, which were full of sports, mentions of distant family members, and sending warmth, love, and regards. They were anything but brief. I remember when we called Zadie from the car on a long road trip. We talked for about 20 minutes, but we were still 2 hours away and the Cubs game was only in the 4th inning. So Zadie began giving us the full play-by-play and would have finished out the whole game if we didn't say something. He would have made quite the sportscaster. Zadie had a way of making you feel special, even when you did the most ordinary thing. You really couldn't have a bigger fan rooting for you than Zadie. It was like having a permanent home court advantage. It still doesn't feel quite right that this is the end. I miss him already and hope he is at peace.
Thank you, Joel and Naomi. Your sister is speaking, Nava from Israel, is ready to speak as well.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to share one of our memories of our last visit in Chicago with Zadie. It was Thanksgiving week in Chicago in 2022. It was late at night, and my husband Yoshua and I came over with your favorite ice cream, cookies and cream, and you had planned it all. The table was ready. You had all the letters that you wrote addressed to your mother back in the early 1950s. There was one letter for almost every day of your visit in Israel back then, but we only had time for a few. As you read the letters to us, you painted a vivid picture of your experience in a nation and a country being constructed, one brick at a time. These letters not only told a significant story of our history, but also hinted at the unfolding stories of our future yet to be told. You described seeing the melting pot of Jewish people moving to Israel after years and years of dreaming and waiting. You spoke about the feeling of pride and wonder in the early days of our nation as it carefully weaved together so much pain and sorrow with so much gratitude for the Jewish country. You got to see our story as the Jewish country unfolded from day one, and you observed the beautiful crafting of a common identity and a joint hope for creating a brighter future. I watched you in awe when you told all these things because it was like watching living history, telling this from first person. And as I sat there continuously listening, I wanted to be there in 1950s too, just like you told it, just like you made it sound, and watch our country being built, just like you did. But a quick reality check reminded me that Israel of 2022 was already set up for success. Our country was built despite all the tragedies of the Jewish people. And we kept reminding ourselves that tragedy and loss for the Jewish people would and could never, ever happen again. But then October 7th happened. And I watched my brothers and brothers-in-laws and husbands and friends get called up to reserve duty in the army, fighting against hatred and evil for the Jewish people. And still the pain and the tragedy of that day echoes in our family till this day, as Yonah is still overcoming his injuries from the battle in Kfar Aza. But like you used to say, En chadash tachat hashemesh. Here we are again, at a point in time that is very different, yet also very similar to back then, where we will need to continue to build and rebuild Israel. And I know that we will, because your letters from back then give us hope, and because you saw it happen throughout the decades, and so will we. Zadie, you remembered everything, our birthdays, our anniversaries, our tragedies and losses until your last day. You made every day special with the gematria you used to do. You didn't miss anything. You gave everyone around you hope for a brighter day tomorrow. Your presence will be missed forever. We love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nava. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Nava's brother, Micha.
Hi. I'll try to be brief here, but hello, everyone. Today we gather to honor the life and legacy of a remarkable man. For most of you here today, he's just Rabbi Brief, but for me, he's just my Zadie. As we stand together in the moment of loss, we also stand in gratitude to the privilege of having him, having to know him. For he's just not a Zadie, but a pillar of strength, wisdom, and love in all of our lives. Zadie was a beacon of guidance, offering his wisdom with calm demeanor that eased the storms of life occasionally brought. His words were not just advice, they were lessons grounded in principles of love, honesty. He taught me that the importance of family bonds, the value of hard work, and the significance of a kind heart. Beyond those lessons, Zadie was a storyteller, sharing anecdotes and made us laugh and cry. His stories were more than narratives. They were windows into the life he lived, filled with adventures, challenges, and enduring the joy of love with Bubby. I wanted to share a few stories about Zadie. A few months before we moved to Skokie, I called Zadie and I told him that we were moving to Skokie. The following day, he called me back and said, Micha, did I dream this, or did you really say that you're moving to Skokie? I said, yes, we're moving to Skokie. And he couldn't be more joyful for us to be here and privileged to be here with Zadie for the past 2.5 years. I feel incredibly privileged to have the opportunity to live next to Zadie for the past 2.5 years. It was a unique blessing to be able to share not just the same neighborhood, but also everyday moments that made our life together. For example, he'll call me in the morning and say, Micha, drive carefully, the roads are icy, or just call me like at night, say, how was your day, what's going on, just checking in, just worrying about us. Yeah, so I'll definitely be missing those phone calls. I wanted to share another experience I had with Zadie. Every Shabbat morning, no matter the weather that was that we had, and we had rough weather here, as most of you know, we would make the effort and visit him. Elan Geffen would run into the house through the kids' door and yell out, "Zadie, Zadie." And Zadie would tell them, "Shabbat Shalom, Ella. Shabbat Shalom, Geffen. So good to see you." Geffen would run straight to the closet and pick out her favorite bar, and also pick one out for Ella and bring it back to Zadie. And they waited for Zadie to give it to them. They took the bar and ran to the couch and they ate the bar with joy and happiness, getting it from their Zadie. Once they finished, they would go to the table and do hamotzi with Zadie on Fred's amazing challah. Fred, they love your challah. Zadie would cut up the challah for each of them, very small pieces and in quarters, as he always did, and handing out the piece, and they would always ask for more. Once they finished the challah, we all went and Zadie gave us all a bracha and said goodbye. Zadie then would remember to update me on all the sports scores that happened Friday night that I didn't check. And then he always reminded me it was a brief. Thanks for the brief visit. We also had a custom to watch Monday Night Football and other sports together. And he also always reminded me to bring chips, salsa, beer, and of course, ice cream. Yeah, you couldn't go without it. And I probably can go on and on with stories that I had and moments that I had with Zadie in the past just 2.5 years. But I wanted to share just a few more things about what I was able to learn with him, seeing him, at his house, accepting visitors, and just like how he treated people. So first one is he never complained about anything, no matter how hard things were. He was always stayed strong, confident, and positive. The second one, he treated everyone with great respect as they were his children. He was always worrying about them and could never say a bad word about anyone. Zadie, we will miss you more than words can express, but we find comfort knowing that you are at peace and watching over us from above. May your soul rest in eternal peace, and may your memory be a blessing to all.
Thanks, Micha. Amen to that. And now, granddaughters Sarah and Frances Hoffman. Sarah.
When I was rushing my business fraternity in college, we had to do these mock interviews. And during one of these mock interviews, the interviewer asked me, "Who is your role model?" I said, "My grandfather, my Zadie," because he lived his passion. He kept true to his values of family, Judaism, love, and community, and led a successful, happy life. I don't think words can explain what Zadie meant to me and how I looked up to him. Zadie taught me to follow my dreams, do what I love, and the success will come. Zadie taught me to value my connections. Zadie remembered the names of first, second, and fifth cousins, not to mention my roommates and friends. Zadie knew everyone's birthday and anniversary and made sure to call with a special message for each of us. My 27th birthday was only a week ago on January 21st, and Zadie was ready with the gematria for 27, ball. He told me to go enjoy your day and have a ball. Last Sunday. Zadie taught me about Judaism, providing insight on different Jewish meanings and values. A Reform conservative rabbi with a Reconstructionist twist, as he would call himself. He taught me that as Jews, it is our responsibility to learn, to grow, and to make the world a better place through mitzvot, love, and tikkun olam. Zadie made Judaism fun and easy to understand. Zadie taught me the importance of family. Before every meal, Zadie would sing, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for family. He loved hearing from family, whether it was Shabbat phone calls or various photos to rotate on his fridge, Zoom Havdalah, or visits to his house where he would show us hundreds of photos and memories. I'm sure many saw Zadie as a role model and felt that he brought a lot of light into their lives. He was a husband to my bubby, a father, a grandparent, a great-grandparent, a friend, a rabbi, a leader, a hero, a sibling, an uncle, an active telephone conversationalist, a writer, a great listener, and a community member. I'm extremely thankful for my time, conversations, and lessons from Zadie, and I know his memory will live on.
Thank you, Francis. Sarah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Francis. I'm number 9 in the lineup of grandchildren. So, what's the good word for today? I'm sure most of us have heard my Zadie begin a phone call or a conversation this way. When I learned that my Zadie had passed away, I thought about how this phrase illustrates Zadie's belief in finding a piece of positivity to go with each day. So, in my sadness, I decided that the good word for today is together in your memory. Zadie reminded us all that the most important thing we could be was together. Whether it was on the phone when I would ask Zadie how he was doing, and he would frequently respond, "Better now that I'm talking to you," or whether we were sharing a glass of grape juice and seltzer water to make a little go a long way. That's from Nava, my cousin. Zadie always prioritized his family and friends. Zadie reminded all of us that our relationships are the most important part of our lives, which can be illustrated through Zadie's close relationships with so many of us. As I have grown up, I benefited from Zadie's wisdom and warmth. In 2012, when I unexpectedly lost my other grandfather, Zadie sat next to me and held me while I cried during the funeral, and then again at the cemetery many years later. When I moved to New York City about a year ago, Zadie helped me navigate the subway system to Brooklyn to visit my best friend from college, since he grew up there. When I experienced a breakup in college, I found myself reaching to Zadie for both support and advice. I really considered Zadie one of my best friends, and I deeply admired him. We shared in so many important milestones together, and we checked in with one another every few days to see how things were going. This speech would not be complete without some words of Torah, as Zadie often taught me on our regular Shabbat calls. In this week's Parsha, Moshe and his father-in-law Yitro reconnect, and Moshe uses Yitro's advice to create a judicial system. Following this, God speaks to all of the people of Israel and delivers the Aseret HaDibro, 10 Commandments. This Parsha teaches us the importance of family, connection, and principles. For me, Zadie epitomized the significance of connection and his ability to make anyone feel special, regardless of the circumstances. When you spent time with my Zadie, you felt like the only person in the room, even if his phone was constantly ringing with all of his other friends calling. Additionally, Zadie's support and commitment to family, the Jewish people, and the state of Israel was unwavering. These principles were the most formative in my life. So even though today I miss hearing the good word from Zadie so intensely, I feel grateful that we are all gathered here today together in your memory. Thank you.
Beautiful, all of you. Thank you. Lidah hi reshit, shirat tachlit hachayim k'masahem, kalicha kitzmicha mishalav l'shalav. Birth is a beginning, death is a destination, and life a journey, a going and a growing from stage to stage. And now the life journey of Rabbi Neil Brief has reached its conclusion. O God, into your care we entrust the spirit of Neil Brief, for you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us, O God, that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead for us, so that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, will be with us as a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our lives and our hope in eternity. Please rise, if it's comfortable for you to do so, for the memorial prayer, El Malei Rachamim.
במעלות קדושים, קדושים ודהורים, כזוהר עתיה, מזהירים את נשמת הרב נוח בן חיים ובלה שהלך לעולמו. בגן עדן תהיה מנוחתו. אנא בואי הרחמים, הסתירהו בסדר כנפיך לעולמים. ותצרור בצרור החיים, ותצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, ינוח בשלום, ינוח בשלום על משכבו. ונאמר
Amen. Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence with the holy and the pure who shine like the glow of your firmament. To Rabbi Neil Brief, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence and within the shadow of your wings. Let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and we say,
Amen.
Amen. You may be seated.
The funeral service is going to take place at Shalom Memorial Park, located at Rand Road and Wilkie Road in Arlington Heights. We are going to have a funeral procession, but I recommend that if you know where the cemetery is, that you just go on your own to the cemetery. The processions can be a little dangerous these days with people always looking on their phones. Please, if you are going to be in the procession, drive defensively with your high beam headlights on, your flashers on. We will give you stickers and flags for your cars. But again, I do encourage you to go to Shalom on your own if you know where it's at. Enter the Wilkie Road entrance, and there will be signs to direct you to the grave. After the interment, well, actually this evening and tomorrow night, the family will be coming back here to the synagogue, and they'll be receiving calls of condolence, and that the times are in the programs that we've handed out. Following have been asked to act as pallbearers. Can I have Jerry Wald, Bruce Hoffman, and the grandchildren that are here today to please come up, and we will escort the casket to the hearse. If everyone would please rise.